Thank you and good morning. I think you were in the spirit when you started with Rob, because if I had started, he actually gave the overview, so I'll just go straight into my presentation. I'm going to look at, if you were a funder and you knew everything about the organization that you are going to fund, what would have been your concerns in the context of a South African municipality. So the way that I've done it is I've gone through the research that we have done in UCT over the last 3-4 years. So I decided that today I'm not saying anything that is from me. I'm only talking about what we have researched, what we have found. We've traveled across the country. We have collected data every school, every holiday in June. We've got about 80 students sitting in one lecture theater, collecting one aspect or another about local municipal infrastructure. So we are now, the trends have started showing. The issues, we have got poor asset registration. Our registers are not in place, especially for big municipalities. Insufficient planning. And I'm saying, speaking generally, when I move, I will just show who did what research and what was found. And it's only students that I supervised, except the last one, because that is me and somebody else. The other thing is unsustainable budget deficits, which Rob also touched on, a weak link between objective and performance management. There's actually been 2 studies, so I've put one here, but I will make reference to the other as well, and lack of continuity. So I'm going to start with the one of lack of continuity. You will always find all these 5-year plans, Vision 2063, Vision 2034, and so on. But then what happens is when leadership changes, you find they are on a completely different path, but they are still talking about the same vision. So what we did was, we looked at parastatals. It's not easy to observe this in a municipality. In Transnet, the trend is the same. It's a macrocosmic representation of the microcosm. So we are looking at national as a representation of what happens. So we downscale, and you will find that this trend also applies. When they measure the performance of Transnet, they look at each of the lines. So there's a coal line, and as much as 380 million rand is lost per day if that train does not move. So that's a lot of money. But we realized that when you looked at the performance for the coal line, you can see somewhere in 20. It looks like something changed there just before 2020, or I don't know, something changed there. And I couldn't tell why there was you could have blamed it on, you can say it's COVID, but the organization seemed to have gone on a free fall even on other lines, the manganese lines and so on, and seemed to have coincided with the departure of the CEO at the time. If you look at the others, the organization seems to hold a little bit and it goes down. And you will see with, let's look at PRASA. You see the performance of PRASA had a problem somewhere around 2009. And then I was watching the portfolio committee in Parliament receiving a presentation from the new CEO Mr. Lucky Montana. It was the first time, and I have not seen it again, where a portfolio committee, everyone stands up to give a standing ovation to an official coming to present in Parliament. It's always hostile. So I thought the plan looks fantastic, but will we see it being implemented? And we started seeing that slight change happening. Then in 2015, he left the organization. Between 2015 and 2020, they had 6 different people in that position. And it was on free fall. So with PRASA, they look at the number of passengers that have gone, that have used the train. The reason for departure is not my issue at all. I'm just making a point. The reason, whether it was right or wrong, because the courts do not seem to know, we can just say only God knows. Then in 2016, so 2016 is actually here. I did not put the one with the years. 2016 is here. They appointed Mr. Machela Koko after spending 22 years at Eskom, about 4 or 5 of which he was in South Korea and Germany and the US, just learning about electricity generation and distribution. So when he came back, even when he tried to set up at UCT, a research center, the professors in electrical engineering, they agreed that he knows more than them, and it will be, no one was willing to take up the position. He had to go and follow professors from Germany to do that. They did the same in Pretoria with the same results. When he presented, they felt that he actually knows more than them, so they wouldn't want to take. So they put a lot of money in that research. In Pretoria, probably R500 million went there. UCT was getting about 10 million rands. The research on these renewable energies now was so advanced that Eskom itself would have been the leader in renewable energy. But then we see that peak going up. In Eskom, they look at energy availability factor. That is everything for Eskom. It reached that point. And then this is 2018. That was the time he left the organization. And then it goes down like that. Well, of course, it picked up later. But this is the highest energy availability factor that Eskom has ever had in its history. And it was in 2001. In the same year, Eskom won the award for the best run parastatal in the world. And in the same year, Machela Koko won the award for the best engineer at Eskom. So I really have no idea whether these 3 guys did anything wrong or not, because the courts seem to, they are still making up their mind about it. But what we are seeing is that when officials leave, especially leaders, there is something that happens to the organization. And in municipalities, remember we hire our executive directors for 5 years. In parastatals, they stay longer. So you can imagine what is happening in municipalities. We are getting some of the good guys, and when they leave, we are not able to replace them properly. And they are going to different organizations across the country. I know there's been a decision to get them on a full-time basis. But if you get the right person, the organization will go very far. The first challenge that we have with managing assets is that when local government was constituted in 1999, we did not follow the original boundaries of where infrastructure was. So, I mean, it was all over the place. It was here and there. There were places that didn't belong to any municipality. In fact, most of the places didn't have a municipality. That's why Spluma was promulgated later. But there were drawings that were sitting in one office. And when the new boundaries came, the drawings did not go to the new municipality. They stayed in that office. you get into an office and you find drawings that you have no idea which area this is. They don't mean anything, they are thrown away because they were physical drawings, they were not electronic. The majority of our municipalities do not know where their assets are. And it's worse with underground assets, never mind the ones on the surface that we could go and actually add on the register, but the ones underground. So Jude was my honors student who did a research about how to locate underground infrastructure. He compared all the technologies. But what was interesting with his findings was not so much the technologies, because we had an idea what he was going to come up with. It was how data was lost over the years, and that how it was never recovered. This research was done by Tanaka Msengwa in just last year. She was looking at how well municipalities spent their MIG, the MIG. So just bear with me, this is probably the most complex graph that I will present. And you realize how simple it is. So now, realize that a municipality will say, we need 70 million rands this year from MIG. And next year we need 72 million rands, and on the third year we need 78 million rands. Then she said, well, if they are saying you are spending on your grant, how do they know that you asked for little or you asked for more? And how you are spending also depends on how many projects do you have. What is the total value of all the projects that you have? So if the total value of all the projects you have is 3 billion rands, and that, because we plan over 3 years, and you deliberately ask for very little money every year, so it means you are robbing the system. You deliberately budgeting for less money than the municipality actually needs. And for that reason, you are going to spend. So the best way to do it is you look at 3 years. And you say, okay, this is 3 years. And then you divide it by you divide it from the total budget, that the overall budget. This is the graph that actually shows you how well you are doing. If this is flat or is going up, you are doing well, like Elundini. But if this is jumping up and down like that, it means the budgeting process is random. It does not follow the patterns of the number of projects you have or the value of the projects that you have in the system. So we did this for all municipalities in the country and actually looked, and it's very dramatic. So now when you hear somebody spending all their MIG or whatever grant, we have a lot of questions now. Did you spend it because you under budgeted? In which case, you are consistently spending, but the situation is not really changing on the ground. So that is an issue that needs to be considered. Then this research was done by Aisha Rawat last year, actually. And she determined that we are now zooming into a project. You are running a project, just a capital project. When the project starts, you will spend less money. When the project peaks, you will spend more. And when you finish, you will start spending less again. So you will have an S shape when you look at the expenditure. But if you draw a straight line from the beginning of the project to the end of the project, when the line of your expenditure is above the project, you are fine. When it goes below, you're not fine. So if we add these areas on top and subtract the ones at the bottom, we can come with an index that determines how well do you execute your project. It's more time than I need. Then we did that on projects, you mentioned Mfuleni municipality, because we couldn't do on all projects for the whole country, but we did only for Mfuleni municipality because we managed to get access to their projects expenditure. And we found that there were projects like this where some money was paid, and then after about 7-8 months, again, some money was paid, and then almost every month, money was being paid. And then a lot of money was paid. This is a road project. Then you start asking a whole lot of questions. What could have been happening on that project when the cumulative expenditure cannot look like this? It should look almost like this. So with this one, they spent the first month, you can see, of course, they skipped 1 month after site establishment. Maybe the community was giving them problems. Then they resolved it. They worked again. They worked. They are paid. So you have to have a stepwise graph going up like that. So we've done this for about 30 different projects. So that research looked at 30 different projects to try and compare with that pyramid. This was done in 2013 by Kerry Southland. And this is the city of Johannesburg. She was trying to, some of these things are accidental, what is found. She was looking at, she was reviewing how they maintain roads versus how roads should be maintained. Because there are maintenance manuals like TRH and Colto and ASHTO, all those standards. So she looked at all the standards and said, okay, this is how a road should be maintained. But then she went to places where she finds them patching roads. Then she notes that place, looks on the map, and goes to Google Map, check what was it like last year, the year before, and so on. And lo and behold, she found in more than 20 places that the road they were patching the same place last year. The year before, there was a pothole, but the year before that, it was patched. So they are going to the same place, patch, and then it comes out, patch, it comes out, patch. Then they realize that the issue is that the executives at JRA are measured on the number of potholes that they patched. So in some roads, they found things that look like potholes. They are not potholes, but then they had to just patch so that they can count. Like, that there was no pothole there, but it had to count because they had to patch 2,000 potholes per term. So the relationship between your performance management and what needs to happen is very important. In water purification, another student, after this I said, no, can you take all the municipalities, just as many as possible, one per district across the country, and look at their SDB. Let's look at what is their key performance indicators for water and sanitation. And the indicator is that every month they must table a report on the quality of water in council. They must table a report in council. So if you table a report, you have performed, it's 100%. Whether the water is bad or it's not bad, that's not an issue. And it does not even require that the report must show the quality of water from an accredited laboratory. So in some instances, we have pulled those reports and we have found 2 or 3 water parameters that cannot exist in the same water. There are certain indicators that you know. If the E. coli is here, the phosphates cannot be this, but they are like that. So which means the numbers were just generated. And then because they've generated the numbers, a report was produced, it was tabled, and it's 100% performance, but the water quality, we don't even know. So those are some of the things that we, so, good. it says 5 minutes, so that's a lot of time. Now, there are two reports that were done. I've only shown this one by Arnold Mashego in 2023. Arnold went to a small municipality, Bushbuck Ridge, and looked at all the roads. Then zoomed in. We have got some very good remote sensing instruments to see the condition of each road, and then estimated how much will it cost to bring this road to a state where it's acceptable. So then he added for all the roads and found that, and then look at their budget for roads, the annual budget, and found that for their roads to really all come up to standard, it will take 71 years. But during that 71 years, the road must not be deteriorating any further. If the roads stop deteriorating and they're just maintaining at that budget. So there's another one who did, Dubazana, who did it for Matatiela municipality, which was much better because it was 69 years, not 71 years. So in conclusion, if you are going to get somebody to fund your infrastructure, there are a lot of these small practices that we need to start reflecting on. I have now one master's student. In fact, one of the students, he looked at the expenditure per area in City of Cape Town on their transport budget, and then looked at each area and compared in terms of mobility and access, and found that City of Cape Town has to start rethinking their formula on how they allocate funds, because research from Europe showed that there are some neighborhoods that used to be very poor. And about 100 years ago, somebody went and built proper road infrastructure or rail. People had access to good schools, to good health facilities and so on. Within 100 years, the fortunes of those towns changed completely, and everyone can tell that it was because they had access and they had mobility. So with the City of Cape Town, he looked at 10 neighborhoods, 5 very well off, and 5 that are considered to be poor neighborhoods. And he found, it actually plotted on a system of axis and realized that the disparity in how the city spends money is actually locking some sections of the population into perpetual poverty, because in their thinking, the thinking is that the people that live in the well-off areas, they contribute so much into the economy. So if we decongest their area, they will contribute more. And when they contribute more, the people in less affluent areas will get jobs, and at least they will get jobs. But evidence shows that if you go to those areas, and give them access and mobility, the Human Development Index, in one generation, you are able to wipe out poverty, and then you will have an economy that performs better, because it's easy to double from them than to just get nominal increases from others. So asset management has got a political dimension, it's got an ethical dimension, because for me, the patching of roads in the city of Johannesburg, and you know, some of the things that we are seeing, even the budgeting, when you know that I want to spend 100% and everybody is happy, but you know that you have not spent 100%. So these are some of the issues, and I've only spoken to what has been researched. Thank you.